Unigear tarp system. That's a 10 by 10 tarp, which comes with several ropes, 8 stakes, and today we're going to do a 10 by 10 tarp that has a ridge line between 2 trees that are at least 10 feet apart. On that ridge line, we're going to tie 2 klemheist knots to pull the tent taut left to right, and then I'm going to stake it with 6 stakes. And that'll be your basic tarp sleeping shelter, and then you could put a ground cloth under there and all your gear, etc. So for this, we're going to use 6 stakes, 2 pieces of 550 cord that we'll make into klemheist knots to hold it taut left and right. And we're going to use 2 of the ropes that come with the Unigear. So we're going to start over here on the first tree, and remember, they need to be at least 10 feet apart. They can be a little bit more. Just be prepared that you're going to have to join a couple ropes to get your ridge line right. So we're going to start with this tree over here, and we're going to do a taut line because we don't need to adjust any of the tautness on this first tree. So I'm going to get this rope right around the tree, and I'm going about chest height on the tree. And I'll be right back on the other side. And we got good bark on this tree, so the rope just kind of stands there as I come around, which is fantastic. I don't have to chase it later. So again, we're going to go about chest height here. We're going to do 2 half hitches. So with 2 half hitches, you got 1 loop in, 1 loop out. And that's your 2 half hitches knot you see right here. And we can go ahead and we can pull that tight. All right. Now I'm going to grab the other rope that we have that's off the ground. And I'm going to take these 2 ends of it, and that's where I'm going to do a sheep bend. So the sheep bend, we make 1 loop. We come up through the loop. We go below the loop. We come back over the loop. And we come across ourselves through this original loop right here. And that is your sheep bend. All right, and that's how we're joining these 2 ropes. Then I'll come over to the opposing tree, and we're going to tie 2 taut line hitch so that we can adjust the tightness on this one. So you don't need a taut line on both anchoring points. And again, I'm trying for about chest height right there. And I'm pulling all the slack out of it that I can. In the taut line, I go over the rope, and I make 2 loops on the inside, like that. And then I make 1 loop on the outside. So we call that 2 in, 1 out. And you're going to be left with a little bit extra rope, and that's okay. So now I can pull that slack over here, and I can slide the taut line. So for a tent, 2 half hitches will be tied to the loop on the tent, and taut line will be tied around your tent stake. So same concept I'm using for the ridge line. All right. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to take that 10 by 10 tarp, and we're going to throw it right over our ridge line. And then we're going to tie our 2 klemheist knots. And we're hoping that this demo is going to give you a little bit more clarity than some of our other demos, because I have assistants to help zoom in and see some of the important parts about setting up this tarp shelter. And once you've done this a few times, you can set it up like that. It's no big deal. This would be a great one to use like summertime out on the Appalachian Trail. And we say summertime because the ends are going to be wide open on this tarp shelter. All right. So I'm going to grab our 2 pieces of rope, and we'll tie our first klemheist over here. So I'm going to start with the rope doubled over like this. All right. And I'm going to have just a little bit of rope right here that's going to be over the top rope. And then because these 2 ropes are so similar in size, I'm going to need to pass over probably 4 times so that they won't slip. All right. So I passed over 4 times. I'm going to take both ends of the rope. I'm going to go back through the original loop right here with both ends. I'm going to pull back down, and then I'm going to test this a little bit. So with the klemheist knot, I should be able to go in one direction and then pull tight like that. And that's what you want for pulling the tarp taut. So we're going to use this loop right here. We're going to tie fisherman's through this loop. Fisherman will not come undone, or it's very hard to come down, and especially if you did a double fisherman. But we're just going to focus on doing a fisherman. Fisherman is very easy. So make a loop, and I'm going to come back over on myself in the opposite direction. So see where I made this loop right here? I'm going to come right through, and I purposely made these kind of short so that just to show you how they're not going to come undone, even though I don't have a whole lot left on the other side of the knot. So that's one side of the fisherman, and then here's the other side of the fisherman that I'll make right here. So again, I'm going to come through and then back through itself to make the other side of the fisherman. But I do need a little bit more slack, so I'm going to pull that down. Sometimes you do wish I had just a little bit more, but that's okay. But I'm going to show y'all, even if you were going to come up short and you barely have enough to finish your double fisherman, it's okay. So once you do your double fisherman, it's a knot that's going to pull on itself. So you see both of these knots, and I'm going to pull them apart right here. And that's how the double fisherman works. So see, I've pulled the two knots apart, and then we're going to pull them tight to each other again, and they work against each other. So they cannot pull through each other. All right, we're going to release our klemheist. So all you do to release the klemheist is to pull up on it right there to loosen, and you can slide it. And then you see how it locks back into place. All right, so we're going to take the other rope. We're going to go to the other end. We're going to tie one more klemheist. All right, so we got our rope length similar. Take our loop right above. Make sure you are wrapping towards the tarp, or it's not going to work out when you have to pull back through. We need to wrap about 4 times because the rope size is so similar, or else it's not going to bite. All right, so we got about 4 in here. Now we're going to come through here, right through the loop. So you might want to call this our bite. We're going to pull through. There's our klemheist, and we're going to test it. So you see it'll go up the rope. It won't come back down the rope. All right, now we're going to pull through the loop on the tarp right here, and we're going to do a fisherman. So here we are. So I'm going to make one loop around and then loop back on itself. So I'm going away from everything. All right, for the second one, I need all the slack that's left. So I'm going to make a loop on the inside. And I have other videos where you can watch a first-person view of me tying the double fisherman. So again, another loop. I'm going to come back through and pull tight. It's double fisherman, and then when the two knots pull in each other, that's how it's a stopper knot. And there's also a double fisherman's knot also. All right, so see how tight we have this now. Pretty impressive. So we're going to check the tautness over here one more time and see if there's any more we can get out of this. All right, everything's real tight. I'm going to hop on your side over there with the stakes. So now it's as easy as starting to place stakes. So notice the tautness that we have up here. So if you want to maintain that ridge height, you wouldn't want to go any more taut with these than necessary. If you do, it'll start to pull the ridge height down. So you see that if I go any taller, it'll pull that ridge height down. So at this point, it depends on how tall you want the final shelter to be. So we do that one. Then I come over here and do the opposing corner, and I pull against that corner to try to get it tight and watch the ridge line. So I haven't moved the ridge line. All right, that's still looking pretty good. We're going to do the middle one now and stick that in there. So now I am still pretty taut here, but I'm not as taut there. So we're going to readjust this one more time because I got just a little bit of slack in there, and I want the final product to be real tight here at the bottom, because I can help with whether it's water running down off of here, continuing to go in that direction, etc. All right, we're going to go to the other side and see we're still maintaining that same ridge line. So we're going to put these last 3 stakes in. Take a look. All right, so I'm still trying not to mess with that ridge line too much to reduce the height of the structure. So I've got that one in. I'm going to do the one on the opposing end. And I'd say we're ending up with a pretty good height for this tent, being that it's a tarp shelter. And we'll put this final one in. I'm going to pull it tight here, and then we'll pull the slack out of that end one. All right. So if you come around that way, I'm going to come in the back right here. So that's how it turned out for our shelter. Now, realistically, you'd want to make sure that you had raked all this debris out. 2 people can easily lay in here. I'll grab one of my mats and demonstrate that too to show y'all what that looks like. I'll take a step back and go grab that. And let's do a 360 of the outside of it real quick before we do that. So, yep, come on around and look at. Now you can always tighten up these stakes some more, get everything tighter. But I think it turned out really well. And I'll grab my sleeping mat, and we'll show how that looks with one of 2 sleeping mats inside. All right. So if you want to finish, you'll walk around, and then we'll pause it real quick. So here's one of 2 ground pads, so to speak. This is actually what I'm using here at camp this week. This is my Gear. It's got memory foam. I'm using it with a cot, but we just want to demonstrate how you definitely have room for 2 when you make the shelter at chest height. And at camp this week, I've just been using sleeping bag liners. I use the double up sleeping bag liners to make a very lightweight sleeping bag that's easily configurable to sleep in a single liner, or to have both liners doubled up, or to throw one liner on top of the other as a blanket. So many choices. So again, pretty simple. Here you go. Hot summer night. You could use that one. You get cold, pop this other one either on top or put it inside. And I usually sleep best when I have a real pillow. Obviously, if I'm out on the trail, I'm not going to have that real pillow. I'm not going to have this memory foam Gear. But hope you enjoyed this video. This gives you another idea of a tarp shelter we gave a lot of attention to detail on how you tie the knots, which knots are used and where, what we would use inside of here. I would throw down a tarp down here, or a piece of visqueen or plastic, 8 mil, 6 mil, whatever, versus laying straight on the ground, especially if there was some rain or something. Now you could probably put some sticks or something over here if you were worried about rain flowing back in, etc. on the ends. So you could get creative, some dirt, whatever. So please share, like, and subscribe. Please give us a thumbs up. We appreciate all the support. All right, thanks everybody, and thanks to our photographer and videographer for today, Travis. Woo! See you, everybody.